the purpose of what we're doing here. There was some time ago, and maybe there still is, a television program that was called The Price is Right. And that television program had as a purpose to bring in people and show them a bunch of products. You know, they could see washing machines and iron boards and beds and everything that you would find in a household. And they would be asked to estimate what is the value of that object. And the one who came the closest would then get to take the washing machine or the iron board home. So it was really an exercise in evaluating. Now, we do that, of course, on a daily basis, don't we? In fact, the moment you meet someone, you evaluate whether that individual is interesting to you or not. In fact, I am sure that within the first 20 seconds of my speaking, you have already decided whether I'm worth listening more or not. Within a few seconds, or at the most 2 or 3 minutes, we decide whether this is a good man or a good woman or not. And everywhere we go, there are now people who are trying to get evaluation. The other day we were crossing, we were coming out of the restroom in Singapore, and there was a button that we needed to punch to say to those who cleaned the washroom whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. So even the people the janitors who clean the washrooms, they want to know whether they do a good job. So needless to say that each one of us should also be keen and eager to know whether we do a good job, because we don't work as janitors, we work as men and women, servants of God Himself, who has called us to be leadership and support the church in whatever capacity we have. So this is what we want to do today. We want to determine how well things are done, and we will find that there are things that are done extremely well, and we will tell the treasurer, the secretary, well done, good and faithful servant. Or on the contrary, here we can work a little bit to improve even how well you're doing. We spend time in pursuing a fairly rigorous activity throughout the day. We're going to use an instrument, a questionnaire, but also interviews, and we will, over the time of the day, we will be able to create a pretty good picture of how things are done in your office. This has also another purpose, which is that we as a world church, we have a responsibility to make sure that everywhere around the world, things are done pretty much the same way. One of the strengths that we have as an organization is that we have common ways of doing things. And those common ways of doing things create a level of trust and confidence that facilitates our interaction with each other. Now, of course, not everybody likes to be evaluated, because it may bring back some bad memories from the time that we were in school. Remember in school, every so often there was a test or an exam where we were evaluated by the teacher. My daughter, who is starting her senior year in high school, was complaining that on the first day of school already she got a test after the vacation. I mean, this is taking it maybe to an extreme, but needless to say that she doesn't like to be evaluated very much. It means a lot of work, a lot of preparation. So some of us, we may think, hey, I don't want to be evaluated because it just creates so much stress. And we may even perceive it as a threat to our self-esteem and to our reputation. Because if we get a grade that is below the best grade, it means that we still have space room to improve, and it may affect the way that we feel about ourselves. We also have that notion that evaluation means automatically day of judgment. You know, we remember the story of Belshazzar, who saw the handwriting on the wall proclaiming that he had been weighed in the balance and found too light, and therefore his kingdom was going to be taken away from him. Well, I can assure you that this is not going to be the case at the end of the day for Dr. Timothy Ward. His kingdom is not going to be taken away from him. As a matter of fact, I am sure that we're going to be, after all the years of experience that he has accumulated as an executive secretary, we will be able to learn things that we hadn't even thought of before from him. And I can tell you that for a fact, every time we do an evaluation, we find things that we can even learn from the field that we visit. We also may be afraid that, of an evaluation because we don't know exactly how it's going to take place. We're maybe perceiving it as a tool that belongs in the business, outside in the world. But surely, why should we think that way? Because the Bible tells us that there is an evaluation that takes place as well, and I'm going to show you a few texts. But let me take a few more moments to talk about even the culture. The culture may dispose us more or less towards being evaluated. In certain cultures, we're evaluated all the time, and in other cultures, not so much. I happen to grow up professionally in the business world. And in the business world, we are evaluated every quarter. Every quarter we're evaluated. You know how? Because our boss looks at the sales figures. And if the sales go up, it means that we did a great job. If the sales go down, then we may have to explain some things to our boss. And as I said, having spent a number of years in the business world, I was a sales and marketing executive. I knew that rule very well. But on top of that, there was another more formal evaluation that took place once a year. And that formal evaluation was, a questionnaire that had to be filled out. And then my boss would sit me down and he would go over that questionnaire, and he would say, this is great, this is not that great, you need to work on this. And it created a sense of direction, if you will. It created a sense of reassurance that my boss, was interested enough in me as to give me some feedback that helped me to become better, to become a better person and a better professional. Now later, as I joined the General Conference, I became the sales and marketing executive for the magazine Adventist Review and Adventist World. And maybe that's, those magazines are even well known here in Bangladesh. Now I had a great boss. His name is Bill Nutt. One of the best leaders in the church that I ever met. And I'm not shy of saying this because it is so. But one thing he didn't do was to sit me down every year and say, Claude, we're going to evaluate you. He didn't do that. He gave me lots of affirmation, as things went. But it wasn't like, a systematic exercise to determine, where I was doing great, whether I was doing okay, and where I was not doing that great. And so, 1 year passed, and I was thinking, maybe he's just waiting for a good moment to do that with me. And then more time passed, and pretty soon I realized there was no evaluation coming. And it just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, I wasn't sure, what to think of my performance because of that background of performing to the best of my abilities. Now, of course, it didn't mean that I did not perform to the best of my abilities. I did, but it's just nice to have, a moment where you think of, okay, getting some concrete feedback. It may be positive, it may be negative, but it gives you a sense of orientation and sort of a sense of comfort. Now, there is also a culture that may vary from one generation to the next. My father's generation, they didn't used to be evaluated very much. My generation, a lot. The younger generation, they are evaluated all the time. You know how? They're on Facebook and they get likes. you know, and that is a way of being evaluated. And if for them it's almost like a drug, you know, if you don't get those likes, they feel like, you know, they're not doing well. And all those followers, it shows how well they're doing. For them, it's a matter of almost day and day affirmation and a sense of comfort. As I said in the church, with regards to that experience that I had at Adventist Review, we don't evaluate as systematic. We do, but some positions don't. The president gets evaluated every 5 years, you know? He's voted up or down. In office, he stays or he's out. Now, we don't want to do that for our executive secretaries. We want to give them, you know, that opportunity to not be exposed without knowing how well they've done. We have a time which we take now to talk about how things are going in his office. Now, of course, in the Bible, there's lots of examples, and I'm going to show you some of the concepts. And one of the concepts that I found the most startling to me was that right there at the beginning of the Bible, even in chapter 1, you have this evaluation that at the end of creation week, God evaluated his own work. And he said what? He gave himself an A+. What is your grade here? The best grade is what? Also A+. So he gave himself an A+. Now, you may think, why would God evaluate himself and give himself an A+? Who does he have to show that A+ to? You know, he doesn't go home to show his parents, you know, look, I had a good grade in school. No. Why would God himself choose to evaluate himself and to show the world, the universe, his grade? Do you know why? No, it's not that. He knew he was doing his best, all right, but there was someone who pretended that he was not doing his best. And that someone's name is Lucifer. That was the whole purpose. The purpose of God submitting to the whole world, to the whole universe, to say, look, my creation is perfect. He knew that what was going to come after that was going to be sin, and sin would degrade his creation. So he showed the whole world that his creation at the beginning was perfect. For us to remember that God is a God of perfection, and that we are to step in his footsteps. And in that sense, you're right. In that sense, of course, we have an example. God gave us a blueprint, if you will. The blueprint of perfection. We will never reach that blueprint because we're so imperfect. Sin has marred us. Sin has made us so inferior. But yet we have a divine example in what God has done, and it was what Jesus has accomplished for us and is willing to accomplish by renewing us to the image of perfection which is in him. God appointed Adam and Eve as stewards of the garden and the whole earth. And of course we know that they could have continued to enjoy that perfection. But instead of that, they threw it away and they thought they would know better, they could do better. Then we have the parable of the talents. The 3 servants, each one receives 1, 2, 5 talents. And what do? The ones who receive 2 and 5 talents, they go out and they multiply those talents. The third one, he says, you know, let's play it safe. And we're just going to bury that talent so that I would not lose it, or that it would not be robbed, taken away, so that I have something to return to him. But who is the servant who has been found to be good and faithful? He is the one who has been managing small amounts and who ends up then being put in charge of greater amounts. Even Jesus, when he was a young boy, he had to grow up in perfection. You would wonder, Jesus was perfect. He was born as the divine child. But yet the text of Luke chapter 2 verse 52 said he grew both in body and in wisdom, gaining favor with God and men. So it didn't happen just like this. He grew in gaining favor with God and men. At 12 years old, he was instructing the Pharisees and the scribes and the doctors of the law, and he grew in favor at that moment. As a young man later on, all the way to the time when he was baptized, he grew in favor, and then during his whole ministry, he grew in favor before God and men. The call of the Apostle Paul to us is to grow up in every way to Christ, who is the head, and so that we may become mature people, reaching to the very height of Christ's full stature, and bear the fruit of the Spirit. This is our calling. Some more biblical examples we find when the disciples were sent on their missionary journey. Interesting that when they came back, what did they do? They gave a report of what they had done and taught. It seems that it's a natural thing to want to tell others of what took place during our work, during our engagement, including during our missionary efforts. The example of the disciples stand there as a proof, right from the beginning. God's question to Adam and Eve when they had sinned was, "Where are you? What is it that you have done?" God asks those questions of his children. He asked the question of Cain as well. "Where is your brother? What have you done?" So as you see, the concept of being accountable is all throughout the Bible. I could go on and on with other examples. And I'm not going to do that. In fact, the next example would be that of God asking Moses what does he have in his hand when he met him at the burning bush. But every time God has a plan for us, He asks us, what is it that you have, so that we can take stock, we can evaluate the skills, the talents, the resources that we bring to the discharge of our duties. So with this in mind, brothers and sisters, I hope that you understand that we're here to do a work that is biblical, as well as a work that is professional. God wants us to be the best that we can be, to do the best that we can do, to exercise our discipline, to exercise our strength, our mental and physical faculties, to do what He has called us to do, which is to proclaim the gospel. As I said, I would have more examples, but I'm looking at the time, and I am told that at 8:30 we want to wrap up. So let us close then with a word of prayer, asking God to be with us as we engage into the exercise of this day, and that we may be able to close this day, and actually I'm sure that we will, with the sense of having done a good work. Let us bow our heads. Father in heaven,